02. And who is going, Jamie, are you going to be our,
I'm gonna have Storm take that, Madam Chair.
Storm? Will you take the roll call, please?
Yes. Dr. Atasi? Amy Barney?
Here.
Hal Christensen?
Here.
Marcia Cox?
Here.
Julie Sessin?
Here.
And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.3 is call for executive session. Do we have anything that it requires us to go into executive session today?
Not from our side.
I don't believe we do. Item 2 is call to the public. We have one that's been submitted from Catherine Hubert.
Yeah, do I have to stand or can I sit?
You need to stand and you need to state your name, and we don't have a microphone,
I don't think I need a microphone for 5 people.
but you can stand and just state your name,
But you're also videotaped.
but you're being taped, so go ahead.
Can I just stand right here?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Catherine Hubert. I work at Oro Grande Elementary School. I just had 2 questions. One, on the employee assistance program, I know we no longer have it, and I don't know how the call to the public really works, but I know we're looking at policies and stuff because, you know, the new year coming up, and I would like the board to look at that. I'm not sure why it was dropped off. I'll be honest, I didn't come to these meetings before. They were at a really odd time. I was at school. But as soon as they became open to the public where I could actually come, I've started attending almost all of them. So that's it on that. And I don't know if you're aware, I did talk to someone at the district office. I can't remember which person I talked to. It wasn't Bonnie. Did you know that when you call the 800 number to get information on our policy, that there's a disclaimer telling us that if they give us the wrong information, pretty much, oh well. Were you aware of that when you called? Well, on my card, the 800 customer service number.
For Gilsmore or for American Health, which company?
I,
On your general insurance?
my insurance
Oh,
card.
the CBA card, okay, so I was going.
Just my general insurance card, because I've had to get a lot of help from them lately. And there's a disclaimer, and it says, if their customer service gives me the wrong information, the policy is what carries. My question is, if I can't trust the information I'm getting from the customer service number, who am I supposed to be calling? Because I've already had the wrong information from them. So I just didn't know if you were aware that, yeah, they have a customer service that pretty much is telling us we may not have the right information, then who am I supposed to contact? That was it.
Any other calls to the public? Item 3 is old business. We have 2 action items, so we need a motion for, I think we can just do the motion for all old business. So, do you have a motion?
So moved.
I motion to
You can second it.
business. I'll second.
Okay. Call for vote. Call for the vote.
Oh. I'm sorry, you want to say your names?
Yes.
Amy Barney?
Yes.
Al Christensen.
What exactly are we voting on? I think
Where-
there's right.
This is discussion and possible action regarding void contract and discussion of possible action regarding the clinic closure and inventory. So we're,
Discuss that, okay, aye. Go ahead.
Marcia Cox.
yes,
Julie Sissy. Yes.
so, you're on, Aaron.
Okay, so Madam Chair, under this item, we have two contracts. Again, just for purposes of stating what I think is the obvious, but for purposes of the record, so all the contracts were found to be void. We had to go back and redo them all. These are the last two that are remaining. So on the emeritus agreement, we were going back and forth to get that contract updated to get a proper term. And then most recently, we were going back and forth with emeritus, and Rich Hanna is here for emeritus. So when we got it done, we got the final part done, it was in track changes. We had one of those weird computer anomalies where it kind of blew apart when I accepted the changes. So what I've got here is essentially the final terms. If you look at the memo, there's one invalid cross-reference on page 6. That has since been fixed, and it's supposed to reference into the address on page 8. It's supposed to reference that subsection J. So but beyond that, all of the other terms are acceptable. We've gotten the guarantees, we've got everything that we asked for in that contract. And Mike Hensley, we did get Mike Hensley's box added on there, so approved the form. So our recommendation is that this contract does now meet the terms that we had set out to accomplish with emeritus. And what I'd like to do is have the trustees authorize the chair to execute the agreement with the stipulation that the 4 changes that are indicated in the memo will be incorporated into a clean contract. And for the record, we have since received a clean contract. It came in after the packet was put together.
Okay.
So that's our recommended motion, Madam Chair.
And so for clarification, the changes were those that were on addendum C. Those were the ones that we had discussed.
Correct. Yep, the trustees wanted the addition of some performance guarantees.
Right, okay.
Which were the ones that were actually incorporated into the original contract.
Into the original,
So we bought
that's
them
right.
forward.
Yeah, it's been a while since we did
Yeah.
go back and forth, but, and I like the idea of having those in there, just because I think and obviously they were in the original, so it makes sense to do that. Rich, do you have any comments, or?
No, just wanted to say thank you, again, thank you to Aaron and Jamie and Madam Chair for bringing me in the conversation. Took some conversations to get done, but we could get some things.
Had to have a little nudge to not you, but.
A little nudge sometimes.
You needed to do a little nudging?
Yep, so appreciate it.
Sometimes nudges will help, I guess, so that's good. Any questions from any members? Any questions from the audience? Hal, do you have any questions on the emeritus agreement?
Nope, bad.
Do we want to call for a vote then?
Do you need a specific motion to approve or to,
I think we just want to,
The suggested motion, I'm sure if that would help, would be to approve the contract with provision that the 4 changes in the cover memo be incorporated and authorize the chair to sign.
okay, so we'll approve the motion as mentioned by Mr. Collins. So I need a motion.
I'll make that motion, exactly as it was worded. I'll second it.
okay. Amy Barney,
Yes.
Al Christensen,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Julie Sissy.
Yes.
Okay.
Just keep that one, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Madam Chair and trustees, the second one, the last contract is the Gilsbar agreement. And in this particular case, I've asked Joyce to be here. We've hammered through this contract. Literally, we're down to two provisions, and in your cover memo, you'll see that we've got, it's custom reports / changes to standard processes, which is billed at $200 an hour. What what I've asked Joyce to do is come in and if not her, then also bring somebody with her that can explain the language here. And that, this one's $200 an hour for any changes to standard processes. Our concern is that frankly, we haven't got a definition of that, what a standard process is. The third one is third-party requests, and these are, I believe, at $100, $100-something an hour. And I've spoken with the chair about this, I've spoken with the attorney about this. My caution to the trust is, we're deliberately trying not to make a mountain out of a molehill here, because in the scheme of things, these charges are fairly small, but this, what's unusual is this scope is so broad that I did not want to say, okay, to go and do it without bringing it to the trustees, having Joyce or whoever from Gilsbar kind of explain, what the rationale is, how they see this playing out, and we can make a decision on how to proceed from there.
And Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I'd like to introduce our two representatives from Gilsbar. On the phone, we have Peggy Cardella. She's in our Contracts and Compliance Department, and also Ashley Flick. She's from our Contracts and Compliance Department too. And between Ashley and Peggy and Aaron Collins and Jamie, they went, back and forth.
We just cut out.
Oh,
She's just introducing you and telling us that, the conversations that you had with Aaron.
Okay.
right. So Peggy, if you want to address the two items that are on the agenda, if you want to address those, and then any additional findings that you and Ashley have.
Did you hear that, Peggy?
No, can you repeat it? We can barely hear Joyce, and for some reason, it keeps going out. We can sometimes just not hearing what y'all are saying.
Yeah. I'm getting closer,
She's gonna
Peggy.
get closer to the phone.
Thank you.
All right, Peggy, so what I was telling the trustees is if you can go over the two items that are listed in the packet, for the custom reporting and also for the audits, and then any additional findings that you and Ashley might have.
Sure. Before we address the two items, we are, I guess, are a little bit concerned that we've had a contract in place since 2009, and that contract is not being ratified. So we'd like clarification on that first, because the standard contract that we were presented from Aaron Collins is not industry standard. For instance, it only is one-sided, so it only has our obligations. It does not have any obligations for Lake Havasu. So, like for instance, the who's in employment claim is not anywhere listed in that contract, and that's a pretty important provision. So we would like to just ratify the contract that we already have in place, that we've had in place since 2009, for a little over for about 9 years. Is that a possibility?
Well, that seems to be news to our consultant, so it doesn't seem like you've discussed that with him before.
No, we were just made aware that that wasn't even an option, so we are actually trying to make that an option, because we've had a contract in place for many, many years. It's not like we're trying to get our contract in place now.
Correct, but as you have been informed prior to this meeting, many months prior to this meeting, that contract was void because it was not done in an open meeting laws. It wasn't compliant with open meeting law. So that's why you've been going through these negotiations and conversations with Aaron Collins and his associates for months. So,
Right. So I guess my question is why can't it be placed into the open meeting law now?
so at this point, I guess I'm gonna look to our consultant and say, if you feel like we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna postpone this, we're gonna table it. And if you wanna do that, but I'm gonna express my disappointment right now, because we've been dealing with this for months, and you should have brought this up months ago, and, it's just pushing things down the road. We're going into looking at our policy renewals in less than a month, I mean, like 3 weeks from now. And for you guys just to be bringing this up right now is just another reason why my frustration level with Gilsbar is at DEFCON 4.
Right, and that's why we're just asking the question. I mean, we're more than happy to discuss those two items with you today. But we were just asking the question because it was never explained to us. It was basically told your contract is void, you have to do this contract. So that's why we're just trying to have that discussion because we would like to add some additional content.
Okay, so again, you were notified of that months ago? How, I mean, and I don't, it doesn't even matter how.
I'm sure, just for the record, we've been exchanging this contract back and forth with Gilsbar, so this is, I'm appalled. I mean, that question was proposed. It was never posed in this back multiple times back.
And who is it that's talking?
This is Ashley with Gilsbar.
And what's your position, Ashley?
I'm their in-house counsel. And I was advised to ask the question by our president of the company.
Okay. I think honestly, at this point, I'd like to recommend that we postpone. And I'd like for ECA and our council to get in touch with the president of Gilsbar and their council and hash this thing out, because we have to make some decisions on this. I mean, just what we were gonna be discussing today was disappointing. And to have this come up in this meeting to me is, I mean, I don't know how the other members feel, but to have this come up now is really frustrating. Can you hear more shit? Okay. So.
Madam Chair, I'm at a loss. I would suggest tabling and let's get the attorneys to discuss. My rationale is, again, this is totally on the hindsight. We had to discuss the two provisions, all other provisions that agreed to. So
Madam Chair, this is Peggy Carnello. We can still go through the two things that were on the request.
No, we can't. No, we really can't. I think that you guys need to figure out if you still want our business and if you really want to represent us as our third-party administrator, and you need to take our position quite seriously, and you need to get in line, and you need to have conversations with our consultant. And, you know, as I said, you guys have been going back and forth with this contract for months, and you really need to decide, you know, we appreciate all the hard work you've done over the years, but, you know, we're not gonna discuss any of this if, you know, if you're, you know, trying to make the supposition that we're gonna just ratify the contract that was there since 2009. So why don't we table this? I don't think that we have to have a vote on the table. So I'm gonna recommend that we table this, and Aaron, would you, or Jamie, get back with us? And again, we're having our renewal meeting February 4th or something. When would be the first time that you could get with us and tell us? Maybe next week?
I'll get with Mike Hensley tomorrow.
Yeah,
If he's in town, and then we'll reach out to council for the side and see what's going on.
Okay, so we're gonna have Mr. Collins and his group speak with Mr. Hensley, our attorney, and then they'll reach out to you, Peggy and Ashley, or whoever in the, I don't know.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, this came up last week when Jamie invited us to this meeting today. The contracts were still being under review. So when we came to head to actually come in and meet with the trust, that's when these conversations with Inside Gilsbar came up. So this was the time that they chose to propose it.
So are you saying that the conversation last week, that someone knew that they were gonna ask for this to be ratified tonight, and
It was the
it wasn't
decision,
brought up?
well, the decision to bring it up tonight was just in the last few days, but the contracts were still under discussions with Peggy and Ashley and our president.
My point is that if it was even a day ago or 2 days ago that someone in Gilsbar decided that you were gonna make this request, that communication should have been made to our consultant, not at this meeting.
Correct.
And whose responsibility is that to do?
That was mine.
Okay, and that should have been done. So, that was a problem. And if it wasn't you, it should have been someone else, so, you know. I mean, we have to get this taken care of, so. All right, well, I guess we're not finished with this contract.
That's correct, Madam Chair. So it's tabled. I'll get with Mike Hensley tomorrow. Obviously, we're not on his calendar right now, but I'll work with him.
It's disappointing, all right. Okay. All right, well, Peggy and Ashley, I guess, unless you have anything else to add, you can be excused.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, we appreciate it, and we will, reach out to, Eric tomorrow at his office to see about setting up that call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. You still with us, Hal?
Yes,
Okay, I heard two beeps, I was like, uh-oh.
no,
Beep,
I'm
beep.
hanging in.
All right, okay, good. Okay, so 3.2 is the discussion and possible action regarding clinic closure inventory. As a bit of a background, we were able to go through, and thank you so much, Jamie, for all your hard work and hours and hours over at the clinic.
You did this? I did.
Yes, you poor thing.
For you.
Yeah, I just went in and took pictures. But I did label each picture, so that was my contribution. We were able to go through all the inventory and see if we could match it up with the list Excel spreadsheet that Cerner had given us, and there were some differences, so thank you, because yours is so much more comprehensive. And the idea behind that was, number one, to make sure that we had an accurate accounting of what was left, and there was a tremendous amount of inventory left, in my opinion. Some of it is disposable, short-lived kind of things like the gloves and just a lot of different things. But the idea was that we needed to decide, what are we gonna do with it? And how can we make the best use of it? The large ticket items like the exam tables and there's some very nice equipment, in my opinion, and I shared some of that in that discussion with Julie Sassine on, like the otoscopes and the audioscopes and a lot of different equipment. The electric exam tables and things like that, they're, what I would consider high value items, $5,000–6,000 if they were new on some of them. And so the idea would be that if we were able to sell those at, fair market value as in the, condition that they are now, that we could put that revenue or those dollars back into the trust. But if there are some things that we can use within the district, that we, the discussion that we wanted to have today is, can we gift those items to the district for the nurses to use, and also for our medical services, CTE, JTED classes to use. So I sent Mr. Murray over the pictures, and he also had the spreadsheet, and we asked Marcia Becker and Tammy. And then there's one other name on there.
Patty Baser.
Yes, yes. So we gave them first swipe at the apple, so to speak, and so the nurses were able to kind of identify certain things that they could use. And then we had Marsh Becker go through and kind of look and see what would be, we could use for the, the CTE medical program. And then we also had Mr. Murray and Superintendent Sire look at that. So there were some items on there, that you could identify, not only for the medical services program, but that the nurses could use, that kind of thing. And so with that information, and I literally 17 minutes before this meeting started got here from California, I can send all of that information, the list. We did sort of a wish list, if you will, of what the items that I think the nurses wanted were the scales, the exam gloves, the splints, the finger splints, things like that. There were a few things.
There's a lot of all those.
There were hundreds of them. And I was actually very impressed with the Band-Aid box, the storage box. I've never seen a toe Band-Aid before. I never even had heard of such a thing. But they're actually pretty cool, so I kind of like to get the lot numbers on those before they go away and see how that box was made, because I thought that was really interesting. Well, my husband was a welder, so I had all these little rods and things, you know, they used to use, but anyway, somebody should have that intact. But there were some very nice, you know, like 6 foot tall locking, you know, metal cabinets and things like that. So there are a lot of things that I think we'd be able to use. There's also a 50-inch wide flat screen TV and, you know, some different furniture and things like that. Yes, sir.
Happy to take that.
I'm sure you would. That's $2,800.
Okay.
Just for you. Actually, I think that was actually on Superintendent Desire, Mr. Murray's list. They sent me pictures. So I think there's a use for some of those things, so. Yeah, so, and there's conference room furniture, so there were quite a few things that I think we would be able to utilize. And so, the discussion today, that I'd like to have is, just to, we can pass that list around and just identify the fact that there are some things that we can give to the district, and we can put, a fair market value on those things and identify that dollar value. Everything has already been depreciated, 2 or 3 years ago already. So there's not, you know, we already own everything. So we can provide that as a gift to the district, and then it can be, continue to be used.
Mike, did Zach get a chance to look at the list?
Hold on, Amy.
Zach, the trainer at
Hal.
the high school, might have a use for
Probably
some
not.
stuff.
No.
Who's that?
It just went to Marcia back there.
Our trainer at the high school might want to check out that list.
Okay,
Yeah, there's definitely some things that I can think of right off the top that could go.
okay.
Those photos, they're on the.
Zach, I don't know
Zach,
his last name.
Zach the trainer?
I'll get his name right now.
They're on the L drive though, Amy, so you
Okay.
could
What was that
have,
one?
the L drive under business services and then Cerna.
Okay.
Those are the folders you would navigate.
Thank you.
Right.
I'll get it to him tomorrow.
And then, Hal, before you speak to, let me, also, some of the larger items, and Hal, can you bring us up to speed on, I know, like, some of the bigger items, like, I realized and Jamie had confirmed, we also purchased that Avaya phone system. And there's 12 phones and then the large deck that goes with it that kind of connects it all. And those systems new are, you know, probably $5,000, but something that I thought about was if, you know, if a tenant wanted to go in there, it would be nice to have that, so, and also those exam tables, but, Hal, did you wanna comment?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, kudos to whoever did the inventory, but I think they might have missed 3 paper clips, 2 ball, 1 pen.
We did.
But, yeah, what's, right now, it's fortunate for us, or if you wanna look at it that way, that John Garrett works in my office, represents the landlord, and we've had some discussions as far as the inventory, and he has a prospective tenant. They went through the building yesterday and took a look at everything, and I think that
And then, thanks Al, and then Julie also, had a chance to look at the inventory list, and, you had a good suggestion too, Julie.
So I agree with Hal as far as the school district going in and, you know, whatever can be useful for the programs, for the trainer, for the district, you know, of course. I did a quick eyeball of the list because we do have employed physician practices. And every doctor that's coming out now seems to want to be employed, so I'm sure we'll be opening yet another office. And so some of those, we would be interested in buying some of those items. So I went down and highlighted just off a very quick look. I probably came up with 25 or 30 items that I think we'd be interested in, if they're still available. And then I also have I have a very good relationship with all the office managers in town. I'm sure we could, and if there's stuff left over and you want to sell it, could have them come in, first come, first served kind of thing. So I think there's opportunity to get rid of it from the start all the way down, so.
Good.
We did receive some direction from our auditors stating that if we would come up with.
And I absolutely agree with you, Julie, and sometimes it's assessing, you know, who's gonna be assessing the value, and I think Mark had this conversation, we have a exam table that's worth, that's new at $6,000, and what would we assess its value at?
Right.
Or you have someone come in and look at it and say, yeah, I'll offer $1,000 for this equipment. It's gonna be, there's gonna be no black and white, firm way to do this. We're just gonna have, to me, again, I've been involved in this, situations like this through my banking and real estate career both. And, there's no, fixed and true way to proceed. And someone could say, well, I think this exam table is worth $3,000. And someone comes in and offers $1,500, you turn it down, and then down the road, you're stuck with an exam table. And it's just the nature of the beast, that's what it is. But again, that being said, Julie, I 100%, let's get the district in there, pull out everything that they can use or they can need. And then, whatever's left, we can offer it up to anyone. Anybody who's willing to pay the price for it, they can come in and shoot us an offer, and we can either accept it or not. We just don't want to spend, you know, who's going to be the person responsible for that, and how much time is it going to be? It'd be nice if Mike Murray or someone from the trust, whatever, has the responsibility and authority to show it and make a decision on getting rid of stuff, because the last thing we want to do is wait for another meeting or have to get a committee together, whatever. We'd like to, in the big scheme of things, what are we talking? $10,000, $20,000? Let's make a determination of how we want to proceed, and let's just get going on it.
Well, I've started putting dollar amounts together just in some of the resources that I have on, used medical equipment, so, we'll, you know, kind of put that all together, and then we can make a list together and just make a decision on, you know, we'll have a, you know, used value. I mean, and Jamie, you can attest to this, I didn't, and Mike, I don't know if you've gone in there or not, but I did not see any of the equipment that didn't look like it was in excellent condition. I didn't see anything that was less than excellent, so I think we can determine that, but, you know, we can assess the value and then, you know, just say, you know, we'll just need to make a decision that we'll, you know, take anything, you know.
Mike, what the auditors saying?
So, yeah, and speaking to the auditors, they mentioned that, and I've looked at it too, in the procurement code, there is a clause in there that states that if it's of an event.
Everybody keeps cutting out the margin, but.
Hold on, Hal, hold on, Mike's saying something here. You talked to the auditors about a procurement clause?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hal,
Yeah, I think.
I spoke to the auditors, and there's a procurement clause in there that says if there's anything that's of an advantageous nature to the district, then we can proceed to sell certain items. Obviously, the district's not in the business of conducting medical examinations, so having medical exam chairs we're not gonna really do anything with those at the district level because we're educating kids. So that's something that, if we have a list that contains documented pricing for each of these items, we can post it here in the district office, on the bulletin board, or on the website, as long as we post it, they say, and give people who are interested an opportunity to purchase them, the remaining items, and we can go ahead and move forward with the sale of those items.
No, and I agree, that we could post something in the newspaper or social media and just say, hey, this is what we have available, and, come in and, because I'm all in favor, let's get as much as we can for this, but don't lose money on the administration side, trying to, assigning a person to do this.
No,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Marcia?
right, yeah, we're not gonna do that, we've spent enough time on it, but, and then Mike, there was no question, I think we had confirmed this, there was no question of the trust gifting any of the items to the district,
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay, so we're all clear on that. And then Julie also helped to, she said that with regard to the medical services, because one of the goals, and I've spoken to, I don't remember, Mike, if you were on that email, but Superintendent Assire spoke to Marcia Becker and about the medical services, CTE.
Correct.
And the vision, I guess if you will, is that somewhere there's an empty classroom. I have no idea where that is. But that would be the goal, would be to find a room. And the vision is that, and I'm just so happy that this is coming together because that was my goal. We would recreate, if you will, a room for the certified nurse's assistant and the LPN class, and that would be where that would be taught. And Julie has said that she can help us come in and say, okay, here's all of the things that we have, this is what we need to put in here. And to me, I think that would be wonderful.
And I think you'd be surprised at the amount of things that come off that list that could actually stock that room.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when you're all done with the district taking,
Right.
Everything, and then the CTE, JTED group getting their classroom, what's actually left may be just the exam tables and a couple
Right.
of those medical type
And
items
that's really
that
where
are
I'm,
left.
yeah, and thank you for saying that, because that's, when I was envisioning that, and then when Superintendent Sire talked to Marcia Becker, and she kind of saw that same vision, I thought, boy, because I'm not aware of a high school that has that kind of a program that has a recreated medical services class like that. I haven't seen one yet, and I just think that that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we have a shortage of medical.
Yeah, and I can go
Professionals.
through and help identify what items would make sense for those types of professions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that, even at the college, it's in short supply, so if we can have that on our campus, then more power to us, man. So that would be the goal. So, at this point, I guess, we just have to, I guess the motion would be that we would agree to gift, the items that, the district employees identified as usable. And then we would also, that's gonna be a long motion. The motion to, can we make two motions, or does it all have to be in one?
Yeah, as long as it's all related to this, you can make as many motions as you
So the
want.
first motion would be that we would gift, did you wanna say anything else before we make any motions?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Marcia, I would make the motion that just allow the district to come in and select any items that they want, and subsequent to that, whatever's left, we'll dispose of them accordingly.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the audience before we proceed? Hi, Carol. Okay. So, do you want to make the motion, Hal, since you came up with it?
Did, yeah, I did.
All right.
I'll second.
Did you hear the motion?
We got it.
Okay.
Amy Barney,
Yes.
Hal Christensen,
gonna say yes, and as a side note, I just wanna let you know you're missing a really pretty sunset at Courtside.
Oh, thanks. Now I have to start over.
with my
basketball team.
Marcia Cox?
Yes.
Julie Sessions?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, did that take care of all?
Sorry about that, but you know me, Marcia, I have to throw that in.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. That took all, that was all we had for, so we'll get together, I'll get with Mrs. Aside on that. Julie, I'll bring you into that conversation. All right, item 4, new business action items. So entertain a motion to open up discussion on new items.
Motion to open up discussion to new items.
I'll second.
Amy Barney?
Yes.
Hal Christensen?
Hal? I think we lost Hal. Yep, that was a yes.
Okay. Marcia Cox?
Yes,
Julie Sessions?
Yes.
okay. Aaron? Or Julie, Jane, whoever's doing this.
I will take this one, Madam Chair, trustees. We have in your packets a copy of the incurred but not paid, or IBNP analysis that was done by Mike Shunning from Chiron, who's the actuary for the trust. As far as I know, this is the first time you all have seen an analysis of this type.
Yes.
And basically what it is we provide Mr. Shunning with claims information, and he takes that and he makes an educated guess on how many claims have been, how many services have been incurred by members, but the claim has not been presented for payment. And then he comes up with a dollar value of those incurred but not paid claims. In addition to that, there's an administrative amount that's incorporated as part of that. That would be expenses that the trust would pay in the event it shut down. So for example, you would continue to pay the third-party administrator for a period of time to process claims and so forth. Mike's analysis indicated that he felt there were $655,000 worth of incurred but not paid claims for the plan year that ended June 30th of 2018. Going forward, this is an analysis that we'll do every year, and we'll be able to show you how that number changes and why as we move forward. So you know, on the financial reporting that we provide to the trust, you'll see the number, the incurred but not paid number is now reflected on those, I don't know if it's on the ones you have thus far, but going forward. And we'll actually adjust that on an ongoing basis. There's a formula that we use based on the claims that are coming in. So it's an estimate, but at least it gives you a pretty good idea of where you're at in terms of what your cash really looks like. The statute says that at a minimum, you need to retain the incurred but not paid so that you can pay out any claims that are out there on your behalf. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on that one. And we have provided that analysis, by the way, to Mr. Murray, so I took the this. So they have it for their books as well.
Did the 548,000 surprise you at all as far as, do we have some large claims?
You do have some large claims, but this number actually is not that far off from other single entities of your size that we work with. There was nothing that that was alarming to me.
But these are IBNR, so these haven't been paid yet.
Correct. Some of them could have been paid now.
Now, okay.
Right, but that's correct. And this one actually doesn't require approval by trustees. You're certainly welcome to approve it, but it's not required.
No, this is just a
Yeah, just an FYI.
How long do companies have to file a claim? This is from June?
So we do the analysis based on a plan year, so and normally it would be sooner than now that we would be presenting it. You would normally see this in like September. But providers have 1 year to file a claim with the third-party administrator for processing.
Al, did you have any questions on the incurred but not paid report?
No,
Okay.
nope, thank you.
Anyone in the audience have a question on it at all? Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to discussion about Teladoc.
That's me as well.
That's you.
Again, Madam Chair, trustees. A couple things on Teladoc. First, I just wanted to give everybody an update on the implementation. As you're all aware, Teladoc did go live for the trust on January 1st. Gilsbar is providing an eligibility file to Teladoc. I believe that's weekly, is that correct?
Tuesdays.
Yeah, every week they get an updated eligibility file. The district sent out flyers and information reminding employees about the availability of Teladoc. We're working on a registration campaign that will be going out to members, and so we'll work with the district on the best way to get that out there. But basically it will encourage members to register for Teladoc before they need the service. We've got some raffle prizes that we can give away once we've got everybody's names in the hat, if you will. And then once we get that excuse me, campaign done, we'll continue to work with the district on an ongoing marketing program so that we always keep Teladoc in the forefront of employees' minds so that they know it's out there as an option. We do know that we've had a couple of people who were unable to access services when they called. Excuse me, not when they called, when they were trying to register online. And it had to do with the way they were identifying the employer name. And so Teladoc actually went in and removed that field altogether, so it's no longer required. So now all anybody needs to access the service is their name, their date of birth, and their zip code. So as far as I know, that's been resolved. But we do have one other issue that's come up. We had a member that contacted the district office to find out how they could enroll their non-covered dependent to receive services under Teladoc. And my response was it's all based on the medical enrollment. Obviously, we've got a file fee that's going. We were reminded that during the presentation that Teladoc gave when they were here, there was a question about whether or not you could cover non-covered family members. And the answer to that question is that it can be done. It is an option, but it is not something that we put in place. We were under the impression because the trust pays for that, members who are paying premium pay for that service as part of the whole program, that it was only for members who were covered by the trust. So Teladoc could amend the platform. It would take some time. They would not charge the trust to do it, but it does bring up some other issues. One is it obviously increases your utilization potentially, which could impact the fee that the district or that the trust is paying. The other is that if a decision were made to do that, they could no longer download the eligibility, the dependent eligibility from Gilsbar. Instead, they would just have employee information on the system, and anybody who wanted to enroll a dependent would actually have to physically upload those people every time they wanted to do that. So there are some administrative issues. From our side, ECA, we would not recommend covering non-covered members, but certainly a discussion point for trustees. And I did, by the way, listen.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that if you're enrolled in the program and you're paying a fee for that, certainly you're eligible for Teladoc, but I don't think if someone makes a decision not to enroll a spouse or dependent, then plain and simple, they're not eligible for Teladoc. I don't think there's really a lot of this, to me, it's pretty black and white. If you enroll, you can participate. If you don't enroll, you don't participate.
So do we know how many employees this would affect? How many employees have dependents not on our plan?
I don't have any idea what that count might look like. I only know what's.
My concern is we used to have that employee assistance program which did cover dependents not on our plan, we took that away. We had the wellness center, we took that benefit away. We pushed out Teladoc, and he did say flat out in his presentation that dependents not enrolled would be covered.
Should be covered.
He made it sound very much like they would be covered, and that's what a lot of people took away from that, and that has been the discussion, and that was one of the pluses that has been discussed at the high school for Teladoc. I feel like in the perspective of an employee, all they're seeing is we take away. We don't give benefits, we take benefits away.
He who?
It wasn't a he, it was a she. It was a she, you're correct. But that was part of the presentation.
So I went back and watched the video, I think you did too, and I remember listening to that and hearing it as an option.
Right. I actually did go back and review the meeting video today, and a question was asked about the pricing, how was it priced? And I believe it was you, Madam Chair, who clarified that it was on a per employee per month basis. I believe Aaron confirmed that. And then Courtney from Teladoc said, there's no fee for you to use it, and it extends to the family. And then there was a follow-up question from the audience about the fee. And again, I believe it was you, Madam Chair, who clarified it was based on medical enrollment.
Right.
So I also know that an email went out following that meeting to the high school from somebody who attended the meeting and sort of summarized what happened, and they did actually put in that summary that it would be offered to members regardless of coverage under the plan.
Who sent the email?
I believe it was Scott Becker.
So, Mr. Becker sent it on his own?
Yes, I didn't even know about it until this issue came up.
It was right after the presentation, you mean?
Correct, back in September.
Well, I mean, I know I have some concerns because if I'm paying for insurance and I'm paying for my family, you know, my son to be covered, and somebody else doesn't choose to have their son covered, and the usage goes up and now I'm gonna have to pay more, that's unfair to me, you know, to have to pay for somebody else's choices to not cover their children, or their spouse. So I do have some concerns along that realm, that it would be unfair to those that are paying.
And I'm with you on that. I think that, you know, maybe possibly Scott misinterpreted when they said could, took it as would. But I'm with you. If you pay for the service, you're eligible. If you don't pay for the service, you're not. And if this is something that requires a motion, I have no problem putting that motion forward to that effect.
Did you see the email?
I did. Let me see if I have it with me.
I guess this was another reason why I think it's just so very important to make sure that any kind of emails that have to do with coverage just really need to come from ECA. It can get very confusing. And are the minutes that we're looking at tonight, the minutes that were the meeting?
They are not.
Did you have a chance to look at the meeting minutes?
I did, and one of the bullet points specifically said that Courtney mentioned that members did not have to be covered under the medical plan to be covered. But again, it was mentioned not as it is, it's that it's an option, it's a possibility. Not that that's how it's going to be.
Did it say that we picked it, or did it say?
No. And later in that same meeting, the trust approved all of the benefit changes for January to June, which included approval of Teladoc, and there was nothing in there with respect to opening up the eligibility in terms of non-covered members.
Yeah, and if
So I'm gonna own this, I misinterpreted. And I will own when I make a mistake. I apologize.
I was gonna say that if we
You
did,
can, but just-
if we did agree, and we would have to follow through. I mean,
But I
whether
don't
we
think
like
it-
it or not now,
Right,
but
but I
if
don't
we
think,
didn't, then.
I made a mistake.
You know, everyone, a lot of people in the room, and I was in the room, we all took it the same way. Because, I mean, I pay for my family, my entire family is on my coverage, so it doesn't affect me. But a lot of people took it that way because that has also been a discussion that I've had with people at school after the meeting. So you were not the only one who took it that way. I took it that way, and other people in this room took it that way as well.
Right, and so I think what's really important is that when those kinds of questions come up, the most prudent thing to do, to make sure that everyone has the right information, is to come back to me or to Aaron Collins and Associates and say, did I understand this correctly? Is this the case? Is this true? Whatever. Because again, you know, me, you know, taking it one way or another, it could be absolutely untrue. And if I had known about this, we could have caught this back in September, and it would have been stopped right then. And now we've got this being out there, this email back from September saying that everyone that has seen this email or had heard that information now thinks that we're taking something away from them again, and that's not the case. So, and that's unfortunate. So I guess what I'm hoping is gonna happen with this meeting is that anyone in this room and anyone that's gonna watch this video understands that this board never agreed to have non-covered dependents covered under Teladoc. We never did. And thank you, Amy, for, you know, admitting, I mean, things get misunderstood, and that's why, you know, we have to pay ECA to make sure that everything is the way that it's supposed to be. The contracts are signed correctly, all the information's accurate. And insurance contracts are difficult. I mean, you know, and information can be complicated. But it would never be the intention of this board to provide coverage for somebody that we're not collecting premium, or not paying premium for. Yes, Kathy?
I think it might help that
Yeah.
Hold on, Hal, Kathy Cox is talking.
it might help
Go ahead.
to point out that it was really upon the Teladoc presenter to make it clear that Teladoc provides that as an optional service if your EBT board wishes to take advantage. And it sounds to me as if that were not made clear to the
I'm sorry, Marcia, but.
employees. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay, she's at the very back of the room. Basically, Kathy, can I paraphrase your
Yes,
comment?
please.
Kathy just basically said that she thought it was incumbent upon the presenter for Teladoc to make sure that she had said that it was an option if we wanted to choose it. And she did she did say that it was available, if I remember right. And the video's still there, I mean, it's still out there, but, and I don't, and maybe she didn't harp on it too much because people didn't choose it too many times, I don't really know. But unfortunately, we're at a place where, there's misinformation out there now, and so we need to decide how we're going to, how we're gonna remedy that communication.
Well, Marcia, I think you raised a good point that I appreciate everyone who attends the meetings because it is important to do that. But if someone misinterprets what is said and then sends an email out, you're right, then sometimes the opinion comes back as, oh, well, the trust said this, now they're taking it back, and that's certainly not the case. And people could argue semantics, but I thought attend the meeting and leave and shoot an email out to everybody, if it's not 100% accurate, it's on them, but it seems to fall back to the trust. So I think it's imperative to remind people that what you make sure you're 100% confident of what you hear in the meeting is accurate, because in this case, it wasn't. And I don't know how many people this is going to affect, but it makes me feel bad because we're doing the best we can with everything we have, and someone goes out and sends out an email, and it's not entirely accurate, and it, again, partially, like you said, reflects back on the trust.
And I honestly don't think staff would be upset hearing the explanation. You're paying for this benefit, we're gonna provide it for the people who pay for the benefit. If you do a very
Absolutely,
concise,
I agree.
I don't think,
I agree, Amy, and so I think, and again, I think it's important to make sure that the message is that, the people that are paying for the coverage, for the benefit, are gonna be able to utilize the teledoc benefit plan. We can, make sure that the question about, anyone that, communicated, this message of, non-members being covered, did so without the correct information and without the right information. I certainly don't want to, disparage anybody, because that's not the intent, but I don't want anybody to feel, again, we're still in this very early stages of trying to, continue to build a good trusting relationship with everybody, and, I don't want anybody to feel like they're, misinforming anybody or misleading anybody, so, it's gonna be really important to make sure that we pose and put that wording together very carefully, and I do think you're right. We don't provide benefits unless they're paid for, and, for people that aren't covered, so we'll just make sure that that's the way that it's worded. And then, again, I would just really, really reiterate to anybody, that we can talk to, if you're, unless if there's ever a question about insurance, the coverage, anything having to do with the benefits, the information the answer needs to come from ECA, in my opinion. And if you need to get it from the vendor, it can come, I'm still a licensed agent, but I don't practice insurance. I have credentials, I do coding, billing, insurance, I do self-funding plans, I consult all over the country, but I don't sell insurance anymore. You do. That's your job, that's what you're getting paid for. And so, have at it. So you're getting the questions, I'm not. Yes, ma'am.
Marcia, would you like to get an email out, or have Mike get an
So
email
Marcia,
out
do we have
to clarify
We
that?
don't have to take any action on this, we make a motion or anything else, this is just a clarification, right?
The item 4.2 is discussion and possible action regarding teledoc, so I think, the action would be that we would agree, we would have to, I don't really think that, we just have to.
I'll make a, not to interrupt, but I'll make a motion that if someone, to participate in teledoc, you have to be enrolled in the insurance program.
Well, I don't think we need to, we don't really need to do that, but we can agree that we'll clarify the coverage question, and I don't really think that we need to make a motion, but, Kathy's in the back.
And I just wanted to be clear for everybody, and again, we're not taking anything away from anybody.
No.
People that pay for it are eligible, people that don't pay for it are not eligible, that's all there is.
Yeah, we'll just reiterate it, and, so, and Kathy's at the back of the room, and we'll just make sure that we get an email out to.
They're going to put it together, and I will send it.
So Mr. Murray, ECA, Jamie and Aaron are gonna put the email together, and then Mr. Murray's gonna send it out to everybody?
Okay.
So I don't think we're gonna have to, I don't think we need to have any kind of a vote on that.
Okay.
We're just clarifying the way that the plan was voted on and approved, and
Yep,
that's that.
that's good to me.
Okay, all right, 4.3 is just approval of the,
I have a few
Yes.
more questions
Oh,
on
sorry.
Teledoc from
okay,
staff.
hold on, speak at that.
I will.
You're
I
gonna
just-
have to come up here
I will.
because he can't hear you.
I just wanted to make sure that, I didn't want you to move on if we're still talking Teledoc.
Okay,
So, all right, so this is from staff that I have questions from. One, if you have a chance, how do people create a medical history for minor children? They were struggling with that. Is it the website only, or they haven't had, or on the app? Do we have an answer for that, or do we need to seek that out?
I don't know that without looking at it, but I can get that
Okay,
information.
so maybe when you send your email, maybe that can go in there. And then this is going to go back to the full discussion that we just had, I believe. Also, could we get clarification on who can call? My kids can call as covered dependents, right? Question mark. Also, I feel like they had mentioned if we called with someone who is with us, they could also be treated. This doesn't go with the question, so this is something different. So like, for instance, my husband isn't covered, but if he was in the room and I made the phone call, I can't act as his liaison, right? Okay. And then, I think that's it. The other one, yeah, so that one was.
so Carol, if you could forward those questions to Jamie,
Okay.
and then that way.
I will tell the staff member to do that.
Yeah, okay. That way, they have, ECA has the exact question. For me, that's just so much easier to, have all of that included.
And then this comes from me. I just went through our documentation for our trust just to see if I got the answers there. Do we have roles for our trustees as far as what your roles are? Because I need to know who to go to. So is the ECA the only people I can go to? Or can I go to Julie or Hal or you, Marcia, or Amy? I was trying to find it from the bylaw, I was trying to find the bylaws, it just says documentation of the trust. And so I was looking for duties to see if I had an understanding. If I had a question, is my direction straight to ECA, or can I reach out to any
You're
five of you?
supposed to go to me as the chairman.
Okay.
And I can refer questions to our consultant.
Okay,
But you are also certainly, because I also go directly to them.
Mhm.
If I'm not available, you can go to Hal Christensen, who's the vice chairman.
okay,
But if you have a question, you know, that you wanna circumvent me and you wanna go directly, if it's a medical question, you can certainly go to ECA directly, you have their information. I think it's on everything that you ever print, you guys. But in most cases, the appropriate thing to do would be to go, just as you would as a school board, you would pose your questions to the.
well, and that's, I guess, where my confusion is, because I can go to any of them. As a school board, I have a conversation with all five of my members, and so that's where I can direct a question to any of them in regards to my school board. Now, if I had something that I wanted to put on the agenda, yes, I would go to Kathy, but if I had a question, just in regards, I mean, Nicole says it every time, my number's out there, contact me at any time. So, and she's neither the vice nor the president, so I just needed to know what each person's role is, and if there's documentation that says that. Because I know in the board, in the school board, there is documentation in the bylaws of whose role is what. So I just wanted to know if there was,
Well, I
so
think,
we know as a staff, and I mean, that's my only question. So this isn't, the conversation that we just had prior to all of this, so this isn't an issue anymore.
so for the benefit trust, I think that we had set the precedent that all the questions, and we did this, actually started with, even prior to Carrie.
Mhm.
And so that was just the way that, I think that was, the precedent was, everything was directed, and to the chairman, the president.
and I will be honest with you, as a staff member, I directed my questions to Carrie because she was a staff member. And the other reason was, prior to that, all that, we were closed meetings and we really didn't have connections with anybody else. I mean, and so that was our wall. We had a wall because we weren't allowed in the door unless you were on the insurance committee, and then you were allowed in the door, but it wasn't until they came out of the executive meeting.
Well, but
So-
there was over a year of meetings after it was closed meetings, after it started the open meeting, there was.
Right, and like I said, Carrie held a meeting for staff in her room at the high school that I went to. But I didn't know if she was doing that as the president, or if she was doing that as a staff member, helping to communicate with staff.
Carrie never
So-
communicated to anybody that she was having meetings outside of the EBT board, and if she was doing that, she shouldn't have been. Because after we started having open meeting laws, after open meeting law was recognized, and we were videotaping and having everything done in open meeting laws, there were no, staff members, I mean, none of that was, necessary anymore.
And I'll be honest with you, I think it was prior to the open meeting issue. It was when they were closed, so, that we weren't able to come in. And so it was, I mean, they've always been open meetings, but they've never been public. So, it was prior to that.
So, yeah.
Once we had the letter.
Yeah, because if it was after that, then maybe it shouldn't have.
Yeah, so it was before that,
That would have been.
because it was
So,
over 2 years ago.
yeah, and so, again, with, I think it was Carrie, at least with Carrie, all of the questions, everything goes to the chairman and the vice chairman.
Thank you. Maybe we can use that, I don't know if there's, like I said, the documentation or whatever, but out to staff so they understand. So we don't have a concern later.
Didn't quite have anything to do with teledoc, but that was, I didn't want to stop the
Well, it
process
was-
going there.
Right, it was, well, the
But-
teledoc was how we initiated
But,
the conversation, sorry.
that was a good question though. But, are there any other questions about teledoc? Okay, I think we're finished with that. So approval, of the October 18th, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the October 18th, 2018 minutes.
Second. Amy Barney? Yes. Hal Christensen?
Yes.
Marcia Cox?
Yes.
Julie Sisson?
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Okay.
And are you gonna hold these for Hal to sign, or are you gonna? make
Yes,
arrangements
I'll
for that?
take your signed version and then I'll get Hal's signature on it after that.
Okay, I'm gonna give you that, because that's. And item 4.4 is review of the financial reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair, trustees, I'll take this one also, but next time, Storm is gonna be up.
Yay, Storm!
That's right.
Gotta get
Just
your
try-
feet
try to
wet,
use her
girl.
gently.
All right, pressure's on.
Thank you.
So, in your packets, we have the finance reports for August through November. I'm gonna focus on November, obviously, because it's the most recent month of reporting that we have, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have. I'm just gonna summarize. In the month of November, the trust actually banked a little bit of money, about $125,000, which just basically means that they spent less than we took in premium. However, for the year, we're down about $217,000. We are showing the incurred but not paid liability on this report, but I will tell you, I think that's before we had Mike's number, so that you'll see an adjustment on that in the December report when it comes through. Basically, as we look at the report, your interest and investment income is high. We've been able to, the trust has been able to invest more funds and earn more interest than we originally anticipated. The overall year-to-date deficit is primarily due to large claims, which I'll touch on here in a sec. If you look at all of your claims, medical and prescription, they're all running high. And again, that's primarily attributable again to large claims. We have 5 large claims that exceed, and this was as of November, we've got more now sadly, that exceed 50% of the specific deductible, which your deductible is $130,000. So we track anything over $65,000 for you. Those 5 cases are totaling about $689,000. 3 of the claims have exceeded the specific deductible by $115,000, just over $115,000. That receiving of those dollars is still in progress, so we don't have those monies back yet, but that's in the works. Nothing else really of note here unless you have specific questions. You'll note that there were some, the clinic prescription and lab claims are running very low. That's because we have not, let me rephrase that. We have received a number of transaction invoices from Cerner, which include clinic RX, clinic lab, and then medical supplies and things like that. When they send those over, they oftentimes don't include the backup. And so I have to request the backup and audit and make sure that everything is balanced. I probably at this point have 4 bills that are outstanding that I'm still trying to reconcile because they don't make sense.
Right.
So we're holding those until we get those done. We did have a large LabCorp credit of about $12,000 that again I'm still trying to reconcile because it doesn't make sense with the backup. And then once we get that, you'll see those numbers adjust as we implement or input the actual dollars that were spent on lab, script, medical supplies, and so forth.
And I know we got a list from Sharon Rodedick of the prescriptions that she took back.
Correct.
I don't know that we got a price for that.
We do not have a credit. She is supposed to,
Credit?
the trust is supposed to receive a credit for all of the prescriptions that they didn't dispense and that they then took back. I have not seen that yet. I will follow up on that.
Okay. And so we've got a number of outstanding invoices with them. We have, we're still waiting for backup on some of those. And unfortunately for me, and I guess part of this, because, you know, the clinic's closed and we're gonna, I mean, we're kind of in that process of, you know, they owe us money, we owe us money. I mean, we don't know where that bottom line is, but if the only thing that we have outstanding to get them to send us the detail is that we owe them money, then we need to wait to finalize that final payment, if you will, I think, until we get all of that detail. Don't you agree with that? Just because, I mean, this is taking a lot of time, and I think you said that you had a new person working with you from Cerner that was maybe a little bit easier to work with, or was giving you detail better?
I did, I do. I followed up again yesterday, and today got a response that basically said she was working with another person who she was waiting on the detail from. So, but I was able to audit, like I said, the 4 or 5 bills that are still outstanding and outline specifically what the issues are, what the questions are, what's needed in order to facilitate a final reconciliation and payment. And I, as of today, she had just forwarded that same email to this other person and said they need an update. And I didn't get another response on that before I came here.
So of those, what was it, 4 invoices you said?
4 or 5.
4 or 5? What, I mean, rough number?
Well, because the one is it's gonna look a little funky on your financial report, because even though we have a large credit that we're trying to reconcile, there were other expenses that are gonna have to show up on the finance report to account for those. But I would say in total, it's probably less than $10,000.
Okay.
One is 12, the most recent one was $1,243.
Okay.
I think the one prior to that is like 5,000.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of credit invoices that again, that I'm still trying to reconcile because they just don't make sense.
Do you think that that $12,000 credit with LabCorp was because we pitched such a fit, because $1,100 vitamin Ds and all of, I don't know?
I'm not sure, you know, I see on every single LabCorp bill, even prior to that happening, there's always pricing adjustments that show up, and I don't know what those are related to. I don't know whether they're priced incorrectly and then caught, or whether there was a change in the price. I don't know. That was one of the questions I asked, actually.
Okay. All right.
And we would like approval on the August through November financial reports, if we may, please.
So moved.
Second.
Well, does anybody in the audience have any questions on these before we? Hold up there, Hal, sun's already down.
But you can make a motion, you can discuss it after a second. Don't worry.
Well, we already made the motion and approved to discuss, so we're, all right. Does anyone have a question? My only question is on the large claims, you said there were 5, is that?
5 as of November 30th, correct?
Okay. Okay.
And I believe, Storm, didn't you just look at that today, and is there 3 more? Did we get 3 more through December?
I believe there were 2 or 3.
And they've all exceeded the threshold?
Not all, they could just be over the 65.
Okay.
And I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I know one in particular, we get notices on daily that they're processing large claims, so I'm sure Mike's seen this one.
Get a little heartburn on them, huh?
Is that what that is?
No, that's when you say, thank God for excess loss insurance. Okay. I don't have any other questions. I know Hal doesn't have any other questions.
Nope.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
Amy Barney,
Yes.
Hal Christensen,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes,
Julie Sissing.
Yes.
good job, guys. Do we have any other calls to the public? Then we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Let Hal have it.
Al, you can have that one.
Second.
Amy Barney. Yes. Hal Christensen,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes,
Julie Sissing.
Yes.
yes. Our next meeting is, actually, it's a 2-day meeting, February 4th and 5th. And we are also looking at the 21st of March.
So I've
So,
confirmed that.
huh?
I've confirmed that.
Okay, so, Hal, did you hear that, Dave?
I did.
Okay,
I would like to tell everybody, thank you for your participation. There is a beer in my immediate future.
well, you go, as long as you're not driving, you can have it.
Oh, no, we're camping in Corside. I am very stationary.
I'm on my way to his campsite.
All right, Aaron will see you in, 90 minutes.
So, Aaron, I got a beer for you too.
All right, I don't have a gavel, and I'm not using my phone, so I'm meeting adjourned
Okay.
at 5. No, the meetings, so
It's like 3:30.
3:30, on February 4th and 5 o'clock on,
And on the 4th, we'll actually bring in some food too, because
because that's gonna be a long.
Mine's keeping me.
I hope I can go.
The first day is